You're listening to Mr. Credit on San Diego 1700 with local credit expert Derek Evans. Now, live in studio, Mr. Credit.
Welcome to Mr. Credit. We are live and local here in San Diego, bringing you the most important hour in radio, telling you everything they don't want you to know. When we say they, we mean the Wall Street gangsters, the government, the banks, the bureaus, the media, and anybody else trying to deceive you, take your hard-earned money. Visit MrCreditRadio.com if you want to send me an email, or do a Facebook search for Mr. Credit, and you will find me there. Okay. So, Padres, another heartbreaker last night, trying to get win number 50. We've lost two close ones in a row to the Washington Nationals. And we've got them again today in Washington. Again. We still have 49 wins before the All-Star break. This is not bad news. Today at 4:05, right here on San Diego 1700, you can listen to the game. And I'm telling you this right now. In fact, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, or my pride where my mouth is, so to speak. The Padres win tonight. I think they're going to win big, but I'm going to promise you they're going to win tonight. Because if the Padres don't win tonight, I'm going to sing a song on the air tomorrow, a cappella, a song of Brooks' choosing. So, Brooke, you get to choose the song. You can pick your Little Mermaid song or the Pocahontas or whatever you got in your mind. I know you got something crazy planned. But it's all going to be for naught because the Padres win tonight. Mr. Credit said so. I can feel it. I can feel it just like I can feel the sun not coming out anytime soon. So, I got a couple. I'm in a shout-out mood today, so I want to give a couple of shout-outs here. Number one shout-out, my good buddy Andrew Paul, Navy SEAL, okay, works at Military Home Loans in Mission Valley. Was on the phone with him today. The guy is so dedicated. I mean, this guy is crazy. He's like up at 5 a.m. every day, running for miles. He's going to be on the show next Tuesday, so mark that down. You're going to want to hear this. I got to quiz him. I got to figure out what exactly it takes to become a Navy SEAL, because I've heard that they just like take you out in the middle of the ocean, drop you off, and just say, well, if you make it back, then you're a SEAL. If you don't, sorry. So I'm going to find out exactly what it takes to be a SEAL, exactly what he's doing. He's helping other vets get their home loans to buy a home, whether it's that or refinancing. He's helping them do that and enjoying life, and everything's good for him. So I want to bring him in here and have him share his stories. He's got great stuff. Also, someone who's listening out there today that I spoke with this morning, Jeff Olson, with Rancho Financial, another guy that I just met today who's a good guy, and I wanted to give him a shout-out to because I know he's listening today. We did get an email last night that I thought was really worth bringing up because someone had been listening to the show, and he was listening. He really caught his ear the idea of refinancing because rates are in the low 4% range on 30-year fixed rates, which hasn't happened for years and years. And I'm a big timing guy. It's the reason I bring up Chapter 7 bankruptcy a lot because it's all about timing. I won't. When times are good, I won't be talking about Chapter 7 bankruptcy nearly as much as I am now, right? Because right now it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense to take advantage if things are bad, to go ahead and do something like that will allow you to move your credit score up, get rid of your debts, and so on and so forth. And I'll elaborate in a second. But he sent me an email and he said, hey, here's what we got. Tell me what you think we should do. And the gist of the email, I'm not going to read it word for word, was, we wanted to refinance and save some money because we have 6% on our mortgage, but, my wife lost her job. We started a business. The business isn't really doing well. And, I don't make that much money. So we can't qualify for a new loan. There's no way we'll be able to refinance, and we're bummed. But we have this credit card debt and this other stuff that's been building up, and we're wondering, well, if we go and file bankruptcy and get rid of that stuff, then we'll never be able to refinance. And this is that old saying, I don't know if you've ever heard it or not, but it's called, running past dollars to chase pennies. And what I mean by that is you're going to save a whole lot more per month by eliminating your credit card debts, the payments on that, the interest, and so forth, than you are by refinancing. So you have to make sure you focus on what's the most important thing for you when you're looking at your finances, and what's best for your credit. Because if you're at a point where you can't pay bills, and you're sad and you're upset about the fact that you can't refinance, there's still a way for you to save not only that much but even more. And remember, 6%, a fixed rate on a 30-year loan is still a good rate. They're just rates that are much better right now. They're just much better right now. It won't last forever. So we looked at the situation a little closer. I asked a couple of questions, and we determined that, we needed to do a sit-down. Now, I don't tell people, hey, you need to go file for bankruptcy, because I don't know enough information about your specific situation. But I do know this. If you go and you sit down with William McDonald with the McDonald Legal Group, who's the only person that I recommend in Southern California for bankruptcy law, because he actually cares about people, then he'll tell you what your options are. You don't have to go run and file today. The smart thing to do, though, is give him a call. 858-437-0103. 858-437-0103. You sit down with him and see what your options are. You may decide not to do it. You may decide to do it. But if you're educated about it, then I feel good, and you should feel good about whatever decision you ultimately decide on. Whatever makes the most sense for you, you're not going to be kicking yourself. No! And going, dang, we should have gone and saw William before we went and did debt settlement, which no one should ever do in their entire life. And tell all of your friends that too. Or, man, if we had just known that before we short-sold our home, that we could have filed bankruptcy and not have to worry about the second mortgage, which I'm going to read you a story about later. Crazy stuff going on out there. Crazy. So I just want you to be educated up front, and that's the reason. Now, if you're in that situation, but it's a little bit different for you, and you think, we are more concerned about refinancing the home, it's very simple. You do need to also become educated about that. Maybe it doesn't make sense to do it, but maybe it does. Find out. See where it stands. Don't think you can make the decision without getting the facts. You got to find out where you stand. If you do want to refinance, the only person I recommend is Craig Sewing with the Craig Sewing Group in Mission Valley. You can call him at 888-880-9500. Okay, that's 888-880-9500. It's the easiest phone number I've ever had to remember. And Craig Sewing will do the same thing for you. He will sit down. He will show you what you can get, what's possible, what some of your options are. He'll look at it like it's his own situation and say, this is what I would do. And those are the type of people I want to bring to you, people who will give you genuine advice to try to help you. Because that's the whole point of the show. I want everybody's credit score to go higher first. And then I want you to be putting more money in the bank every single month. And I want you to be able to say, you know what? I'm able to do that because of Mr. Credit. And I'm pretty darn happy about it. That's my goal with this show. So I want you to understand that that's the reason I make those recommendations. That's the reason that we have those things in place for you. So the other thing that he mentioned in his email that I thought was interesting, and we covered this yesterday, was, I don't want to not be able to refinance for 10 years because of the bankruptcy. Remember, folks, the bankruptcy, all right, Chapter 7 bankruptcy, it will show on your credit report for 10 years. Maximum. Sometimes they go away sooner than that, but maximum 10 years. However, they're really only affecting your credit score and your ability to borrow for 2 years. So for only 2 years after that are you considered different. And typically you can still borrow. It's just you have to take a higher rate because of it. Now, that in most cases is not going to be an issue because usually before you go and file, you're going to get yourself squared away. You're going to know what cars you want to keep. You're going to know what you're going to do with your home, what's going to be with your living situation. And so it's really not as big a concern as they. Now, when I say they, I'm talking about the banks and the bureaus, too, would have you think. If you go to the credit bureau's website, they'll actually tell you that filing for bankruptcy is one of the worst things that you can do for your credit, but they don't explain that it actually negates other negative information and causes your credit score to go higher. They don't actually explain that to you. Why is that? Don't you think that the credit bureaus, the people, the masters of this information, the people who ultimately know everything about how this works would want you to at least understand?
What are you doing?
Don't you think? Absolutely not. Why? Because in the end, the bureaus are owned by the banks. Remember, the bureaus, they don't need to exist if the banks don't want them to. Banks want to go back old school. You got to come in, sit down with us. We're going to review your life history. We're going to have you call 10 people to the witness stand who know you to vouch for you and have their names signed on here too, and then you get a loan. They could go back to that. And why shouldn't they? I like that idea. I think it's right on. But they would never do it because why? They make too much money being able to do more loans and deal with the fallout that might come from it, from this inexact science. Now, if the banks, think about this, if what I'm saying is true, if the banks really do own the bureaus, that would totally make sense as to why all the glitches in the credit scoring model cause your scores to go lower. Because that helps what? Mitigate their risk. It mitigates their risk. If you're supposed to be 740 and you're 620, you don't get a loan, well then they don't have any risk because they didn't execute a loan. You see what I mean?